Hello everyone, welcome to first day of Adobe XD class. I hope you have your version of Adobe XD installed, and if you don't, just watch and follow along as I show you how to use Adobe XD to create cool UI UX designs. Alright, let's get started as I launch Adobe XD. If you already have Adobe XD installed on your computer, then make sure it is up to date. So this is what Adobe XD looks like once you have it opened. Now, this is not the main interface where your UI UX design is going to be created. But meanwhile, this is where you set Adobe XD to give you the particular artboard where you will make your designs. So when I say artboard, I mean the layered design that you want to make your UI UX designs on top. So in case you are making your designs for mobile or websites, or you are making for Instagram story, or if you are making your designs, a custom design, and you notice you don't have the document type that you are designing for, if it's not under the presets that you already have here, then you can create a custom size. So this custom size means if there's a particular mobile design that you want to create your UI UX design for and you can't find it in the list over here, then that means you can go to custom size and enter the width and the height of the layout you want. So if it's a mobile design that you can find in the list over here, you will notice in the brackets, these are widths and heights for each of the mobile designs that you have in the preset, you know. So for example, for iPhone 6, 7, 8 Plus, they have almost, in fact, they have the same screen size in terms of width, which is 414 by 736. So for iPhone 6, 7, 8, same width and height. So if you notice at any point in time you can't find the dimension for the layout you want, just go to custom size and enter the size, the width and the height manually. So in this case, we are going to start with a web design first. Then later we are going to see what it looks like to create a mobile design within Adobe XD. So right now, this is my screen size, and it is important that you choose the screen size you have at the moment to start your design. So this is what my screen size is, 1280 by 800. So I'll choose this layout, and Adobe XD will prepare the interface for me to start working. All right, so this is what it looks like once Adobe XD is launched, fully launched for you to start making your designs. So this is what our layout is all about. We actually selected Web 1280 by 800, so which means 1280 is from this point to this point, and then the 800 is from this point to this point, which is the width and the height. So before we get started making designs, I know most of you have been asking, and some, you want to know what UX and UI is all about. So UI UX simply means user interface and user experience. So the designs you make within Adobe XD or any software or applications that are used for UI UX designs is called user experience and user interface designs. So now, what is user interface? User interface is what you see and what you interact with on any product or any service that is being offered to you. Now, what is user experience? Now, user experience is what you feel when you interact with um, the interfaces you come across on any product or services that is being offered. So, a live example is when you drive a car. So you enter into your car and you find various things that you can use to drive the car. For example, the steering, you can see side mirror, you can see your gearbox, and different things that you find within the vehicle. The seat that you sit upon, it's all the interface of the vehicle. Now, the experience is what you feel or what you get from using the car. So now, if your car is, if the type of car you bought is the one that has a very good speed, that's one of the experience. So you cannot really see it, but you can feel it. So if your car is too slow or if it's overheating, then that's the experience that you feel. So the essence of UI UX design is for you to create a design for a web or mobile application before the developer actually starts working on, starts coding. So we already have our artboard layout created for us because we selected web 1280 by 800. Now, what's an artboard? This is what it is. This is what artboard is. Artboard is where you create your designs. So whatever you create, whatever design you create within this artboard is what is going to become your design. Now, if you notice outside of this artboard, we have some empty spaces. So whatever designs you create outside of this artboard is not going to be part of your design. So maybe, for example, you just want to create something outside to check or to look how it is going to be when you drop it in your artboard. That's when you can create designs within here. But for designs that you intend to, showcase or give to your clients, this is where you create it. And this is more or less like our laptop screen or our computer screen. So all of the designs that we make within here is going to become what we display on our computer screen. So now at this point, um, let's try to navigate around Adobe XD and so that you can understand what is happening everywhere on the interface. Because if you look on the left side here, you see different buttons arranged on the left. And if you look on top, you see different items also arranged at the top and at the right side. On the top here, you can see a button that says Home, and the Home is what we saw immediately we launched Adobe XD. So this is where we created our artboard layout. And if you're not doing it from here, you can also create your artboard from File, New. That's where you can start from. So it will give you the same dialog box to choose your settings. Now, the next thing you will notice is design. And now the design tab is what we have active right now. So within this design tab, that's where we make designs. Every of the user interface design that we are going to create will happen under design. So the next one you will see is prototype. So notice immediately I switch to the prototype tab. You notice there's a difference on the right side here. So from design to prototype. So the properties we have here will change. Now the next is share. So if you need to share your design with your friends or your teammates or any other person you have in the Creative Cloud account, this is where you can share your documents with your friends or your team. So let's go back to the design tab to get to understand what all of the left and the right buttons and options will make for us within Adobe XD during our design. So let's get started with the left pane. The left pane has tools, all of the tools that you need to make your designs. Any of designs you want to make in Adobe XD, this is where you have the tools to create your designs. Then if you look down a little bit, you will notice these three buttons that are here. So one says libraries. If you click, it will expand the library pane. So this is what you will find in your libraries. And what you can do with the libraries is you can create fonts. You can store fonts that you've manually created to work in your designs, or you can store colors and different assets that you can use within your designs. This is where you can find it in libraries. The second one says layers. So this layers is where your artboards and the contents of your artboard is being arranged. This is your artboard, the current artboard we have right now. This is it. And all of the contents that we are going to create within the artboard is going to be seen or be found within this layers sidebar on the left. So the third one, which is plugins, is where you can, there are plugins that are being designed and uploaded by professionals. You know, there are people who make plugins that, the use of these plugins will speed up your work. So whatever you cannot easily create, or maybe you feel is already being created within Adobe XD by professionals, then just come to plugins and try to search for the particular plugin that you want. You'll find it over here. So, but mostly we are going to be making use of libraries and layers. So the next thing you want to see now, let me minimize the sidebar. So the next one you want to see now is the properties sidebar on the right sidebar here. So this properties right sidebar is not active because to make it active, you need to select something within the artboard. So it could be the artboard itself. Then you see the properties of the artboard, the items or the options that you can make active or inactive, or the changes that you can make for the settings of the artboard. And if you have a shape or any item within the artboard that you've already created, then this is where the properties of that item would be available for you. Now, that's about the left sidebar and the right sidebar. But meanwhile, if you come over here, there are still some few buttons you can see. So this is how you can invite your friends or your teammates to your document. So inviting them to your document means once you create the document link, the Adobe XD document link within here, then you'll be able to send the link to your friends or teammates, and then you invite them to this particular project you have active, and then you can collaborate or work together on this particular project you have here. So the other one says preview on device. So if you want to preview your artboard, whatever design you have created within Adobe XD, if you want to preview it on your device, most especially on your mobile devices, so it could be your iOS, or your Android device. So you can connect with a USB cable and then preview your design on your mobile device. Then the other one, the third one here says desktop preview. So this desktop preview means whatever design you already have here will be previewed as if it's a full design, because once you have this artboard, you will not really see the way it looks, or the way it will look on a desktop computer. So right now, the only way you can see how your design will look on a desktop, because we are designing for web, so the only way you see how it will look like is using a preview. And this preview screen, if you maximize it, this is what you are going to get. But right now it's looking plain or empty because we have not started designing. So once we have a design, then it will appear here within our preview screen. Then the next one you will notice here, which is the last item here, is how to zoom either in or out on your artboard. So how do you do that? If you click on this drop down arrow, you can easily select the percentage scale of what your artboard will be. So 100% means whatever you see in the 100% design of this artboard is exact thing you will see on the main device is going to be previewed. So if you reduce it to 25%, 33%, or if you increase it to 200, 300, or 400%, then that means you are increasing the size so you can be able to see your design clearly, or maybe you can, it will help you see all of your artboards if you have more than one artboard in your Adobe XD. So now, instead of having to click drop down arrow all the time to either increase or reduce your um, artboard screen, you can always use a keyboard shortcut. So if you are on Windows, if you hold your control key on the keyboard and then the scroll button that you have on your mouse, if you hold it and scroll either forward or backward, it will zoom in or zoom out on your compute on your Adobe XD artboard, something like this. This the result you get once you zoom in or zoom out. So if you notice while I'm zooming in or zooming out, the size of the artboard is being reduced. So once I zoom in again, you notice the size has increased. So that's what you can do with zooming in and zooming out. Then lastly, you notice that we have the title of our Adobe XD project as untitled. So this untitled means we have not given our project a particular project name and it's not saved. So what you should do at this point is give your project a name and save it, because you don't know if you forget to create a name for your project. If anything happens and maybe Adobe XD quit unexpectedly, then your project is gone. So immediately you launch Adobe XD, the first thing you should do is give your project a name, then save it at the location you want to save your project. Now I'm going to save this project by clicking on this name, and then I'm going to give it the project name that I like. You can create your own Adobe XD project and give it the name that you want. It doesn't have to be the name I'm using right now. So I'm going to give it XD Design Day1. So right now I'm going to save in a location that I have already created, and this is the folder Adobe XD. So I'm going to save within this folder right now. So that's all. Our Adobe XD project now has a name. So next time you can easily open your project using this name in the location where you saved it. So right now, let me get to explain the prototype tab very well. Now, this prototype tab, once you have finished making your design, to make your designs, whatever you have designed, to give an interactive look or feel to your design, you have to create a prototype. So prototype means you have more than one artboard on within your design. So let's create one more artboard right now, so you can see how prototype works before we create a real design and then work within the prototype. So right now, if I create another artboard using this tool you can see here, which says artboard, and you can use the shortcut A on your keyboard, either you're on a MacBook or you're on a Windows computer. So you can use the shortcut A to create a new artboard. So now, if I click on this tool right here, it will create a new artboard for me. by clicking on empty space that I have here. So a new hardboard has been created, and the new hardboard is having a new name, which is Web 12802. Now, once I'm done with the artboard tool that I use to create a new artboard, then I'll click on this select tool. So it will return my mouse to the original icon that it has before. So now that I have two artboards, let's just quickly see how to link between two artboards. First, let me create a rough shape on this artboard, then create another rough shape on this artboard. So to create a shape, you can use this tool that say ellipse, and you can use the shortcut E to get to it very quickly. So roughly, if I have a shape like this, and then let me just quickly give it a color so we can see easily. Then coming to the second artboard by clicking on the artboard, or click on the name of the artboard to quickly put the artboard in focus. Just click on the name of the artboard and you put it in focus immediately. So let's create another shape using this tool that says rectangle, and then you can use the shortcut R to quickly select the tool. Then let's come over to the second artboard and create a rectangular shape. So let me give it a color so we can see easily by the time we work within the prototype. So now let me quickly show you how a prototype works. Now if we click on the prototype tab, and then you can see that there's no real difference in what we have. The only thing that you see right now is if you click on the artboard name, it doesn't look like the way we have it in the design, you see. Then the other thing you will notice is the tools that you have over here as reduced. Now, what you will notice majorly once you get to prototype tab is the fact that the right sidebar over here has different properties that is different from what you have when you are in design tab. So once we have two artboards that we want to link and create a prototype, then what you have to do is click on the item that you want to link, or in this case, we want to link our artboards. So we want our artboard to be able to show us the first and the second artboard when we preview. So you notice this home icon on the first screen. And then if you go to the second screen, you notice this home icon on the second screen. So this home icon means by the time you want your preview to start, what artboard or what screen do you want to see first? So once you select that this is the home, then when we go to preview, then we are going to see this screen as the first screen in our preview. But for you to understand it better, let's select the home screen on the second artboard as our home screen. So right now, I want to link this artboard to this artboard so that when we preview, we can be able to link, we can be able to navigate between two screens. So how do you do that? Just click on this, the icon you see here, and then drag the triangle arrow icon, then drag to this artboard. Just as simple as that. By the time we get to Adobe XD in full, you get to see how prototyping works very well. But right now, let's just quickly preview what this will give us. So to preview, once you click on this icon over here that says desktop preview, then you'll be able to see our prototype in action, or the shortcut for preview. Either you are on a MacBook or you are on a Windows computer, the desktop to preview your work is Command Enter on your MacBook or Control Enter on your Windows. So let's use the shortcut to preview. you will notice right now that our preview will start from the second artboard. Now, this is it. So, right now, if I click anywhere on the artboard on the screen, it will display the first screen. Now you can see. But meanwhile, because I linked the second screen to the first screen, and because I told the prototype properties to make the second screen our home screen, so immediately we clicked on preview, we saw the second screen first, and the linking of the second screen to the first screen took place immediately I clicked on any part of the second screen. But right now, because we did not link the first screen back to the second screen, or we did not give the artboard, the first artboard, an instruction to either link back to any artboard, so we are now left stranded here. So now if I click anywhere, it won't go anywhere. So the only way to go back is to just close the preview window. Now, why do we link between screens? So if you notice, if you go online or either on any application on your mobile phone or on websites, there are buttons everywhere. So this is the reason why you link. Now, these buttons, for example, when you get to a website and you want to create a new account, you see a button that says register. So once you click on the register button, it takes you to the page where you can register. Or if you already have an account on that website or on that mobile application, you go to a button that says sign in. So once you click on sign in, it takes you to the page where you can sign in. That's the reason why we create prototypes. So the developer who is going to code, who is going to program the website or the mobile application would be able to understand the flow between our pages or our artboards, from one artboard to the other. So, for example, if this is where you land on the website, for example, when you get to Instagram, the first screen you see, that's where you see the login and the sign up button. So, on that welcome page on Instagram, once you click sign in, it opens the sign in page for you. In this case, let's say the second screen that you have here. So that's just the essence of creating all of the artboards that we are going to create and the reason we are going to create prototypes. So our developer will be able to understand the flow between pages or between artboards. So one other thing I want to show you before we start our main design. So when you come to design, then you come to layers. Like I told you, you can use Command Y to open your layer sidebar, or you can just click on this icon over here. If you're on a Windows computer, then you can use Control Y to open your layer sidebar. So now this is our layer sidebar. So we already have two artboards within our Adobe XD, and this way you can find your artboards arranged. Then I also told you that within each artboard, all of the contents you have within each artboard is also arranged within the artboard name. So how do you see this shape that we have created? So once you double click on this icon over here, it will open up your artboard and you can see the contents of the artboard. Remember, we created an ellipse shape which we used this tool over here to create. So this is it, ellipse 1, because it's the first ellipse shape we created within our artboard. Now, one other thing you have to understand is naming your artboards or the shapes you have created within any of the artboards. So how do you name your artboard? So to name your artboard, you have to either double click on the artboard name over here, or by the time you come over to the left sidebar in layers, locate the name of the artboard. In this case, let's say the first artboard here. Then you can double click on the name, then you can change the name. So let's give our artboard a name that says first. Then once you have given your artboard a name, then you hit the enter button on the keyboard. Then you see that the name has changed on the artboard. So let's change the second artboard name, but meanwhile, let's change from here. So if you want to change your artboard, then you have to double click on the name before you can change your artboard name. So once you double click on the name, then you can give it a desired name that you want. So in this case, we are going to give it second. Then hit the enter button. Then our artboard name has changed. If you look on the left side in the layers, you can see that the artboard name has changed to first and second. So now, how do you arrange your artboards? Because a time will come when we'll have many artboards that we have created, or maybe many shapes or items that we have created within our artboard. You can have various components within your artboard, different assets that you have imported into your artboard that you have to work within the artboard. So how do you get them arranged? Now, if you think you can just drag your artboard around to arrange it, then that's not the only way. That's not the way to arrange your artboard. To arrange your artboard, because you really need it, is more or less like organizing your files and folders. So you need to always name your artboards, name the components you have within your artboard, and then be able to arrange it properly within the layers sidebar. So how do you do that? What you do is you click on any of the artboard name that you want to rearrange, or maybe the components name within the artboard that you want to arrange or you want to rearrange. So click, then drag to the position where you want it. So in this case, we want the first artboard to be on top, then release. So our artboards are well arranged now. So we have the first artboard on top, then the second artboard following. By the time we start working and we have a lot of components within each artboard, or we have many artboards within our Adobe XD, you understand why it is necessary that you arrange your artboards, or that you make it organized, well organized on the layers sidebar. Now, one other thing that we can also do is within this Adobe XD, if you need to create a design for web and at the same time for mobile, you don't have to create a separate Adobe XD project to work on your mobile and web design at the same time. You don't have to create different projects to work on your mobile and desktop designs. So what you can also do is go to artboard. Once you click on this under tools, once you click on this artboard tool, then you notice that the settings you have over here will change, and it will give you the list of different screens that you can choose from. Notice if I go back to the select tool, you won't see anything again. But meanwhile, once I go to artboard, it will change. Then it will add the list of various screens that I can create. So if you are currently working on a web like we chose at the beginning of our project, and you try to create a new artboard, it will give you a web screen, because that's the last screen you created and that's the last screen Adobe XD recognized. But meanwhile, if you want that to change, all you should do is come on this right side. Once you have selected the artboard tool over here, then choose the screen type that you want to create. So now let's assume the screen type you want to create is not here. You don't have to go back to home to create a custom screen size for your design. All you should just do is select any of the screen sizes that you can see over here. So for example, let's say web 1920. So immediately you select web 1920, you notice it is bigger than 1280. So now what you want to do is create a custom size So let's say in the case where you want to create a size that is 1000 by 1000, you don't have to go to home to do that. Once you just click on any of these, just any of the screen sizes that you can see here, then return your artboard tool to select tool. Then while you have the name of the artboard selected, while you have it selected this way, head over to transform. That is where you see the screen size of the artboard you have created, and the screen size is width 1920 by height 1080. This is the 1080 height, and this is the 1920 width. So what you do in this case, since we are creating a custom size that says 1000 by 1000, just click within this space, then remove the value you already have within the width, then change it by typing the value you want. So in this case, we are typing 1000. Then also go to height, then click and then enter the new value, which is 1000. So this is how to create a custom screen size to design within Adobe XD. Then one other thing you can also do is, if you don't have a precise width and height for your custom screen, if you don't have a precise width and height, let's just say roughly you want to create an artboard that doesn't have a particular size in terms of width and height. So what you do in this case is just click on any of the points, click and hold using your mouse. So at any of the points you have over here, then drag either in or out, depending on what you want at that moment. So let's say this is what we want. Now, just release the mouse once you get to the particular size that you feel is okay. Then notice immediately you do that, the width and the height has changed. So this is the new width and height that we have now, which is 1443 by 329. That's what we have right now. Now, there's one other thing that I want you to quickly pay attention to before we continue. Every screen, every screen starts from this point. Your artboard starts from this point. So every counting of your artboard starts from this point. So what I'm trying to say is, whatever design you are going to do, your artboard recognizes your position from this point to this point, and then from this same point down to this point. So meaning, if you have a shape within your artboard, let me remove let's use this artboard. Let's use the second artboard over here to explain better. Now, if you notice, this shape we have within here, the X and Y position means from this point to this point. Let me zoom in so you can see. So from this particular point to this particular point here, um, from here to here is 314. Then from this point to this point is 193. Now, this is how you will understand me better. If you drag this shape to this end point here, then you notice it is 0 and 0 on the X and Y axis. So your Y axis is the vertical line you can see here, while the X axis is the horizontal line that you can see at the top or at the bottom of your artboard. So I'm going to move like 2 steps forward so you will understand that our counting of position starts from this point on the horizontal. Counting of position on the X axis starts from this point. So once I have this shape selected, then I will move it forward 2 steps by hitting the right arrow on the keyboard 2 times. 1, 2. Then notice what you can see here. Our X is now 2. That is, we moved horizontally this way. And how do you see that? Look, A white space is being created here. So that means we have moved from this point, from the beginning of our hardboard, 2 steps forward. Now let's move 5 steps downward from here. So if we move that way, you will notice that using the down key on the keyboard, let's move 5 steps downward. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Now notice that our Y is now 5. So every positioning that you have within Adobe XD starts from this point. So when we start creating a major design within Adobe XD, you will get to see how this positioning works. But right now, just note it and don't worry about it yet. I'm bringing it to your attention because by the time we start working on it, you will have idea what we are doing. So again, um, to have a better understanding of how this positioning works, now let's return this shape to this very end again by clicking and dragging on the shape to the point, to the very end of the artboard. So now we already have 0, 0 again on the X and Y axis, that is on the horizontal and on the vertical. So that means our shape is already at the very end on the vertical side and at the very end on the horizontal part of the artboard. So notice if I drag this shape upward a little bit, what our y-axis is going to give us in terms of value. So let me move the shape on the Y position upward a little bit by clicking and dragging up. Notice what we have. We have minus 13, meaning we have moved 13 steps. We have moved 13 steps upward outside of our artboard. Then if I do the same on the y-axis, on the x-axis, by dragging the shape to the right side, that means we have moved forward 21 steps on the x position. Now, the reason why the x position is not giving us minus is because on the x positioning, we are still within the artboard, meaning from this point to this point, we are still within the artboard. But from here to here, we are outside the artboard on the y-axis. The only time you will make the x-axis become minus is if you have your shape at 0, 0 and then you move outside on the you drag horizontally on the x-axis outside of the artboard, then it will give you minus. Now if this confuses you, don't worry for now. By the time we will start making use of the positioning of the x and y positioning, then you understand better. Now there's one more thing I want to show you before we start our main design. Now let me zoom out of this artboard. Then let me delete this artboard. So to remove an artboard, you should select the name of the artboard. Click on the name of the artboard, then hit delete on your keyboard, or come over to the left sidebar of layers. Then look for the name of the artboard within the layers list, within the list of artboards in the layers. Then select the artboard you want to remove, then hit delete on your keyboard or backspace if you're on Windows computer. Then it will remove the artboard. So now our layers shows that we have 3 artboards, but if you feel so our layers shows we have 3 artboards, but we can't see the 3rd artboard yet. How do you see it? What you have to do is either either you zoom out. So zooming out means you make it a little smaller, or you make it small, so small. That's when you zoom out. Then zooming in means you magnify it and you make it very big so you can see clearly. So zooming out, we can now see that there's an artboard that is hidden here, which in our layers panel, we can already see that there's an artboard that is far from the other artboards we need. So to also delete it, just click on the name of the artboard, then hit delete or backspace on your Windows laptop, and it will remove the artboard. So that's all about removing artboards. So the other thing I said I want to show you is a grid layout on your artboard. So a grid layout will help you to position your shapes or any component you have within your artboard. A grid layout will help you to position them very well on your artboard. So how do you create this grid layout? So grid layout can be created when you select the name of the artboard, and then you come to the right side, the properties panel. Then you will see grid. Grid is what you see here. So once you see grid, you can then make grid active by checking this box. So once you check the box, you'll find out that the grid layout is now showing. Now this grid layout will not affect your design. When you export your design, if you have the grid layout still showing on your artboard, it will not show on your design. This grid layout will only help you to be able to position your items, your components within your artboard, so that in some cases where the screen is not as big as the design that you have made, it will help you create, space between the items you have within the artboard, so it doesn't get cut off in many cases. So now this grid layout is always divided into 12, and that's where responsiveness comes into play. So when I say responsive, I mean responsiveness in designs, mobile applications or web applications, means you want to make your design to be viewable in all devices. So when we design this web application, you want to make sure it is viewable on a mobile device. So grid layout will help you position your components very well within your artboard, so that by the time you get to different screens, you can then reposition them and get the exact layout that will appear on various screens. So that's the function of layout. And if you notice, this grid layout is divided into 12. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. So you can make your grid layout any number you want, but by default and by standard, you should leave it as 12 as it is. Now, this 12 means you can make all your designs appear from the beginning of this first layout grid bar to the last grid bar that you can see here. So all of the components that you create within your artboard should appear starting from here to this point you have here. Now, don't get me wrong, it is not compulsory that you follow the grid layout if you know what you are doing. So if you already know what you are doing, you can just position your components at any position you want, depending on the design you want to make. And if you feel you want to make a perfect responsive design, then follow the grid layout, meaning whatever components you want to arrange within your artboard should start from the first bar of the grid layout, either moving it to the top or moving it down or moving it to the end of the layout here. So it depends. But meanwhile, if you are following standard and you want your design to be responsive, then create this show this grid layout first, then start arranging your items within the layout. And if you feel you know how to work very well without using grids, then just hide the grid layout from within here by selecting the name of the artboard, then scroll to layout and then turn it off, so you can be able to work very well. Now, one last thing I want to show you today, because we are going to start the main design by next class. But one last thing I want to show you today is, pre-designs that you can use to complete your UI UX designs within Adobe XD. And these pre-designs has been added to Adobe XD by Adobe. And how do you find these pre-designs that I'm talking about? These pre-designs are UI kits that will speed up your work. So if you go to File and you go to get UI kits, you see all of these UI kits for different designs, either for web or for mobile apps, or for whatever designs you want to make. So you can see this is Apple iOS UI kits. So these UI kits are design guidelines that will help you to create Apple iOS mobile designs, material designs by Google for web or mobile. And then you can see for Microsoft Windows too, there are guidelines that will help you. So what you should do is go to get UI kits. If you have your internet enabled, then go to get UI kits, click on Apple iOS, then it will download the Apple iOS UI kits for you. Then material designs from Google to make mobile and web designs, and also from Microsoft Windows. Then you can also see wireframes. By the time we start our main design, you get to know what wireframes are and what they are used for. So you can download wireframes, you can download Apple iOS UI kits, and so on and so forth. Then if you need more UI kits, then click on this button over here. So that's all for this class today.